Welcome to the Our State Book Club podcast. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author and North Carolina native Wiley Cash. In today's episode, we travel west to Asheville to talk with New York Times bestselling author Denise Kiernan about her path from musician to journalist to producer to bestselling author. All right, Denise, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Come into your house
Welcome.
on this beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Welcome.
So we are here in your home in Asheville, in North Asheville. But you were born in New York. You weren't.
I was not.
But you call New York home, right?
New York is... So we'll go to Europe. No, I was born in Germany.
Okay.
I was born in Germany. I'm an Army brat. So I was born in Germany. Both my parents are from Brooklyn and Long Island, Irish and Italian. So as an Army brat, we moved around a lot. New York was always the place kind of we went back to, right?
Sure.
For holidays, for summers, this, that, and the other thing. So that always sort of felt like home to me.
Yeah.
And then I lived there again went back as an adult.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of summers, you spent a summer in Brevard. Have that connection with North Carolina. I don't know if that was your first contact with North Carolina, but then you also spent time in Winston-Salem. Can you tell us about those early North Carolina experiences for young Denise?
Absolutely. So we were stationed for a time at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
In Columbia,
outside
right?
Columbia. So I remember being in high school, my mom bringing me up here to see the Biltmore once. I was probably 14, 15 years old. I was in band, very proud band geek. Music was a very big part of my life. And so we would do competitions and we would occasionally come to North Carolina. And as an up-and-coming flautist and pianist, I auditioned for and was accepted to I don't know what they call it now, the Brevard Music Center summer series. So you go to Brevard and you spend the whole summer there, and you live in cabins with other musicians. It's fantastic. It's at least I assume they still do it the same way.
I think they do, yeah.
But they still do the performances, which is great. So you are taught by these incredible musicians. And while I was at Brevard, my flute teacher told me, he said, the North Carolina School of the Arts has one opening left for a flute player, and I think you should audition. And I was like, where, it's Winston-Salem. I was like, I don't have a car with me. So drove me from Brevard over to Winston-Salem to audition, and I got in. So I didn't go back to my high school. I went to Winston-Salem and lived my senior year at North Carolina School of the Arts, and then stayed for my first year of college. So that was my early North Carolina.
So you have experiences with two really kind of iconic institutions, the Brevard Music Center and the North Carolina School of the Arts, which I think are both kind of like underutilized, underknown assets in North Carolina that are
absolutely
overlooked.
Think so.
What was your experience like at School of the Arts?
Oh, wow. Some of it I can't discuss here. It was a performing arts school.
Sure.
And it was junior high, high school, and college on the same campus. Mm-hmm. So you had 13-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and 25-year-olds all in the same cafeteria, all going to the same dances, all that sort of stuff. So it was, and you had dancers, and you had visual artists, and you had actors and film. Yeah. So you were exposed to all of these other creative artistic disciplines, which is really wonderful for any kind of artist, because I think we all tap into these other ways of storytelling, right? Which can be done musically, can certainly be done via visual arts, dance. So it completely opened my mind. And I mean, the friends I have from North Carolina School of the Arts are still, some of my very best friends today.
And speaking of underutilized and maybe even underknown institutions, the School of the Arts, one of the major movers and shakers toward founding that was John Ely from Asheville, North Carolina. The
Did
novelist.
not know that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
A great North Carolina novelist that's kind of fallen out of
Really?
the fold a little bit in terms of readership, but a fantastic North Carolina novelist.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you wrote in your latest book, We Gather Together, you wrote kind of humorously about the challenges of finding Thanksgiving food and while living abroad, but you spent some of your career living in Europe. Can you talk about, what took you to Europe and what you were doing there?
I've always, perhaps it's the wanderlust that's ingrained into you when you're an Army brat, because we lived in Alaska, we lived in Missouri, we lived in the South, we had family in New York. I was always sort of fascinated with other cultures. And so after college, after I graduated from NYU, the plan was at the time, I had graduated as a biology major pre-med.
I forgot that. I will always think you did journalism.
Yeah. Oh God, no.
But I forgot.
Oh,
you did biology
I've
pre-med.
never taken a writing class.
Perfect. Yeah. That's
so
why you're successful.
You. So the plan was go to Europe after college with a friend. We had people we could crash with, and then come back, study for MCATs, and get on with that life.
What were you going to study in medical school? What was your specialty? What did you
I
think you were
wanted
gonna
to
do?
be, I didn't know yet because I never went, but my idea was emergency medicine.
Wow.
Or family medicine,
Wow.
but probably emergency medicine. I liked the idea of being able to help immediately.
Sure.
It's probably a instant gratification problem I have.
So you chose writing, which is like the
Zero
opposite of
gratification.
not even instant.
Certainly not
zero.
instant.
Yeah.
If the gratification comes, it is not instant.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where we went over there. We were staying with a friend of hers in England, and we were at this barbecue. I think maybe the second or third day we were there. And I met a guy who was Roman. And I thought, well, I guess I'm not going to go back to the United States. So I ended up I got a job in France. I just went down to Paris and got a job as an au pair and moved out to the coast. Didn't get a the thing you're supposed to get. It's a long time ago now. I guess none of this matters. And then from there, went down to Rome to, be with my love, and got a job teaching biology at Marymount International School. Mm-hmm. So, and taught English at an Italian high school. That was an experience.
Yeah.
I was what they called the mother tongue teacher. So I would go into every class, like once a week, so they could actually have conversation with someone who was a native English speaker.
Oh, that's
so it was, so it was a lot of fun. So that was my first time actually living in Europe, and I was over there for about a year. And then just I had friends in Italy, I had friends in France. I would go back over whenever I could, and then I eventually moved back again. I left. I had been head writer of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, one of the more interesting jobs in my life. And right after that, I went back over to Italy, and I was in Rome that time almost 4 years.
And you're working with ESPN, right?
I was freelancing
Soccer.
for what was then called ESPN International, because there wasn't, streaming.
Sure.
And there was, I literally had to take tapes to the DHL office to have them sent to Connecticut. Mm-hmm. So,
And it was mostly soccer, right? That you
All
would follow?
soccer.
All soccer.
all soccer all the time. I grew up playing, still a fanatic, as you've seen some of the stuff in the house. So that was fantastic. And I was also, I was freelancing on the side. So I did some travel stuff for Wall Street Journal Europe, and was doing some writing for Scholastic, and, writing a book that didn't get published, and, it was a lot of that sort of stuff.
I've known you for years, and I forgot that you didn't major in journalism, and I forgot that you worked for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's like when you forget about zany things, it's like, I've known that person for a long time, but you're just willy-nilly like, I forgot about that. Regis Philbin said things you wrote.
We have known each other for a long time. But what's funny is that I have I am married to a writer, as you know, Joseph Denise, and we have very different paths. And the two of us have a very different path than you do. And that's one of the things that I think is actually really wonderful about writing, and that I try to drive home when I'm in a situation where I can talk to younger writers or talk to people who are trying to kind of get into publishing, is that there is not one way to skin the writing cat.
There's no magic.
There is no magic. There is no do this, and then do that, and abracadabra, everything's fine.
Yeah.
So that can be both daunting, because a lot of people like, well, tell me what to do in order to, be a success. And then a lot of people are very empowered by that. They sort of think, oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter that I didn't study journalism. I'm not saying that made it easier for me.
Sure.
But there's so many different ways into storytelling, which I also think is a good reminder for all of us who certainly stand on the shoulders of storytellers who came before us and who didn't necessarily come to that craft the same way we did.
And now going back to your interest in medicine, now there's such a thing as medical storytelling.
Yes.
People are really focusing on what is the narrative of this disease?
Yes.
What is the narrative of this treatment? How do I share that with the patient in a way that's digestible? Storytelling's at the root of so many things that we do. We will be right back with Denise Kiernan after this break. Elon University is proud to support the Our State Book Club. In the same way great authors bring North Carolina stories to life, Elon is committed to fostering knowledge, creativity, and lifelong learning across our state. Discover how Elon University shapes thoughtful leaders at www.elon.edu. We are back with author Denise Kiernan. And Denise, before the break, we were talking about your polyglot background, if that's the correct use of that term. You know better than me. Music,
something,
producing, writing, interest in medicine. How have all of these things, producing segments for television on soccer in Europe, studying medicine, the rigor of being a musician, of practicing, especially in a fine arts environment where that's your life. How did these things prepare you for life as a writer, this very solitary life as a writer?
Yes. For the solitary life, that's a good question. Studied biology, did not study medicine, never went to medical school, just to, for the solitary life. Well, classical music, certainly you have to spend a lot of time alone practicing. So, which I didn't necessarily like, but you have to spend a lot of time alone, and you have to have that ability to sort of be alone with your means of expression, I guess is the best way to put it. A lot of, throughout all of it, my personal thread, because there are times I go back and I look at, how I ended up where I am, and I think, how did I end up where I am? But curiosity is the thread that runs through my life, for sure. Everything I do, I am still at heart, I am still a journalist.
Yeah.
So my time at the Village Voice is where I learned the most, where I was exposed to the most, where I grew the most. I hope I'm still growing. I'm trying. God knows I'm trying. But I bring my journalist self to everything I do. Producing, I love visual storytelling as well. I've worked on documentaries with people. It's an art form that I enjoy consuming, and I like contributing to it when I can. The ability to work on soccer abroad, that was just too much fun. And I had written about soccer actually in New York. I was that's one of the things that I covered. So for me, it was sort of like, I have to do this if I can. And it was a way for me to get back to Europe, which was something I was still curious about, whether or not I wanted to be, a lifelong expat.
Sure.
Go that route. But the producing, you have to definitely manage your time. And as a writer, you have got to manage your time. Yeah. So there's that the organizational aspect and how to tell stories quickly. Producing helped. Yeah. Big time. Journalism, it hones your interview skills. And even if you don't write nonfiction, thinking about what you would ask people if they were still alive, what you would ask a character in one of your books, to be able to be in conversation with an individual, whether they actually walked this earth or whether it is a beautiful character you came up with in your mind, that to me is also very important. Yeah. Because it just enables you to get outside of the way you would do things, you would see things, you would approach things. Yeah. So journalism, whether written and definitely producing, helped with that. And both of those deadlines. I mean, the ability, deadlines are everything. Yeah. And that kind of, you will wrest this book out of my, my cold dead hands. But, when deadlines come up, you kind of have to, back when I was, first starting out, there was not online, so you had to hit print, so it was, listen, here's, you turn in a piece. Well, I would change this. Listen, I can do this for you, or you can get it back to me in 20 minutes. Yeah. But 20 minutes from now, this is getting cut. So either you get to have a say in it, or I'm going to do it for you. Yeah. And you just pull it together.
Talking to you and hearing you say, I'm reminded of a couple of things. Last year, we interviewed Brendan Slocum, who's a violinist by training and a relatively recent novelist. And he's published his third novel. I guess he's published 3 novels in about 5 years.
That's
all
fantastic.
Very well received.
Wow.
And I said, how are you doing this? He's like, man, I grew up as a trained violin player. It's practice and performance and deadline and expectation. He's like, sitting by myself alone and writing. He's like, easy. Yeah. That's easy. So I'm thinking about you doing that. I'm also thinking about you as a journalist. You are someone, upon meeting new people, you ask a lot of questions. Yes. I've noticed that. Where are you from? Why do you live there? Why is this place? Why is this building here? What does it do? When I think about it, that's very true of you. And then I'm also thinking about, and I'm not ready to talk about it just yet, we'll talk about it in the next episode, how visually, when I think about visual documentaries, and especially the cinematics of visual documentaries, We Gather Together opens very cinematically. We meet these two people. We don't quite know who they are, and there's this kind of slow reveal, kind of a pan out of their lives, and it's all kind of coming together as you talk about it. So with all of that training, and given the diversity of things you've written about, Thanksgiving, the Biltmore House, the atomic bomb in World War II, the development of it, how do you know when you're ready to dedicate the kind of time you need to a project that's going to take this long,
right,
and take you to Europe as this one did? How do you know you're ready to do that?
That's the question, and that is the question you never stop asking yourself ever. I am not. I'm very fortunate in that I have a plethora of ideas. Mm-hmm. I am very misfortunate in that I have a plethora of ideas, and choosing what to do and what not to do project-wise is kind of akin to choosing what to keep in or leave out of a story, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's what you leave out that's as important as what you put in. So I think first of all, curiosity. So these books stay in your life for so long, you had better be really interested in the subject matter, because there are a lot of things that interest me. It'll be interesting for a long time, and then you go back. I keep a list. keep lists of ideas. I keep, Post-its. I keep lists on my computer. Everywhere. And sometimes you go back and you're like, wow, that's a horrible idea.
I'm glad I didn't pursue that.
Good. Whew.
Yeah.
And other times you go and you're like, that still won't leave me alone. So that's how I come to certain ideas. Then I guess part of the journalist kicks into me. It's like, could I tell this in a magazine article?
Yeah.
It's like, is this a magazine article? Like is this a really long magazine article? Is this a book?
Yeah.
Right? Or is this a really long magazine article?
And is that,
when I'm doing nonfiction.
And is that because, like, is this a magazine article? Is that how far my interest can take it? Or is that how big the story is?
Latter.
Okay.
That's but the former is that my interest in it is also a good question too. But I don't think I would. If I can see an end to my interest in something, I probably won't even do it as a magazine article either.
Interesting.
But that's a great clarification to make. It's sort of like, is this story best told in 10,000 words as opposed to 90,000 words?
Yeah.
And because you don't ever want a book that feels like it is just, not enough butter on too much bread, and that's no fun.
And
nobody wants to read that.
Remember trying the feeling, when my most uncomfortable writing experiences is when I look back over something I've read and I can remember the labor of writing it.
Oh,
that feels like the worst. I want to read something that I've written and been like, oh my gosh, I don't remember doing that.
Me too. No. What's funny is like, every once in a while, if you're asked to read, which I don't like to, I'll happily do it, but because every time I read, I can always go, oh, how I would say that now.
Yeah.
Like I always think about what I would change. But there are other times you pick up and somebody's like, oh, well, you read this, and you go, I wrote that?
Yeah, I don't remember
I don't remember writing that. That doesn't suck.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't suck.
Doesn't
the
suck.
Life of Denise Kiernan.
That's the subtitle to my
Speaking of reading it, you read the audiobook before we gathered together.
And for Last Castle.
Oh, I didn't listen to that one, but we gathered together because we did some events together when it came out.
Yes.
And then I was like, I'm going to refresh my memory of this book and listen to the audio while I drive. And it's wonderful. You did such a good job reading.
Thank you very much. We actually did that one. And So We Gather Together has, I know we'll talk about this more in the next episode. That was recorded during COVID.
Under a blanket. I remember you saying you were like,
under a blanket in
soundproof.
this room, like, C-stands and giant blankets and making sure the producers were far enough away from me. And that was a whole other thing.
Well, before we go, we are always interested in what the writers are reading at this moment. And we're here in front of what are multiple bookcases in your house.
Yes.
What are you reading right now? And what are you liking, or what are you just kind of like nagged at? Like, what kind of subjects are just nagging you right now to read about them?
I am actually, I can't get out at the moment of 18th century newspapers. Part of that is because of the book I just turned in that will be out next year, Obstinate Daughters, and it got to the point where, like, okay, I don't need to research this anymore. We're not there anymore, but I really still find it quite fascinating. The history of journalism has actually become an interest of mine lately because it is something media is just changing so quickly, and the way that we tell those stories, other people's stories, relate factual stories is changing a lot. And looking back over some of my favorite writers, Joan Didion and Pat Conroy are here. They had stints as they were journalists.
Yes.
And it definitely contributed to their abilities to tell a story and also to kind of get out of their own box.
Sure.
And so I don't know, there's something getting at me about sort of the history of media, which is nonfiction. I'm a little obsessed with this show called Frontier House. It was on PBS. It was a reality show before we really had reality television. They did this in 2000. So imagine if PBS were in charge of. Have you ever seen this? Or, oh my God, you have to see it. So it's 3 families, and they put them in 1880s Montana. Really put them there, and they see who can. They train them.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So that's what I'm really into now. That and bundling. I'm reading about bundling.
Tell us about what is bundling.
Bundling is this is little known facts about bundling, Wiley. And bundling in the New World, all right? No, but seriously, when there's a little poem about bundling. The bundling bag, you can see they're sewing a young lady into a bag because she's going to be sharing a bed with a young man to whom she is not wed. Oh. So in olden times, a lot of times because of cold temperatures, because of not wanting to literally sleep sitting up in a chair, if you were traveling or you were courting, it was not unusual for an unwed couple to sleep in the same bed. But to prevent them from getting down to business, there would be sometimes somebody would be sewn into a bundling bag. Other times there would be a board instilled across the middle, the bundling board, bundling bag, bundling board. I don't even remember where I found this. And this was written in, I think, the late 1800s or early 1900s, looking back on bundling in the New World.
That is so interesting.
Yes. It really is.
Denise, this has been great. I really appreciate you doing this for us.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Elon University believes in the power of stories to engage and inspire our community. That's why Elon is proud to sponsor the Our State Book Club, showcasing conversations with writers who reflect the heart of our state. Learn how Elon University is igniting discovery and dialogue in North Carolina at www.elon.edu.
From day one at Elon University, you're empowered. Engaged learning, meaningful mentorship, celebrated individuality. Transform your potential into purpose and become a leader the world needs at Elon University.
What might it be like underneath the sunrise in a state of flight? Coming back on me, it seems wonderful, the wandering mountain birds on a beach. Never moments ever wasted, turning away from your love. Honeybees, gardens of sweeter fruit, never tasted, no turning to other things. Will you be, will you seem? Sweeter fruit, never tasted, don't turn your back on me. Mountains pushing into the sea, mountains into